Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. Special guest joining us, Ken Ashfield, City Engineer and Public Works Director for the City of Maple Grove. And also, Ken, a new role here of the last few days. Al Madsen, as you normally see in this chair, has retired. So wanted to ask a little bit about that since the last time we taped. That was the last time with Al. How's life without Al at City Hall?
Well, it certainly is different not to see him roaming the building, you know, and he's been there a long time, both working for the city as well as in his role as city administrator. And much has been written and much has been said about his retirement. I think I can speak on behalf of the organization, though, to congratulate Al on a great career, wishing him the best, and thank him for all he has done for the city over the last 32, 33 years.
You bet. He still lives in Maple Grove, so something tells me on occasion he'll stop by the government center to check how things are going and to check in with friends like Ken here. Let's talk about some other things before we get to the council agenda. Again, we have a recap coming up for you of that last meeting. And when Ken's here every time as a special guest, we try to talk a little bit about engineering, so we'll take a look back at this year and a look ahead to next year. But National Night Out, we've got some stats from 2015's event, and they're great stats.
Yes, Dave. Maple Grove has always been very progressive with the National Night Out event. Our police department does a great job in promoting that, and all of our CSOs and police officers that work on that and work on it with our city council to get out to all of those neighborhood parties, and there are many of them.
Oh, yes.
Maple Grove was rated #1 in the nation in the category of population between 50,000 and 100,000. So we're proud of that, and a lot of that pride should go to our residents that come out for that event as well.
Exactly. Hats off to the City of Maple Grove. Great accomplishment. And your neighbors to the east, third in the nation as well, the City of Brooklyn Park. So congratulations to them as well. They've just got to catch up to Maple Grove now, maybe in coming years. All right, Farmers Market. It seems strange here in December to talk Farmers Market, but you do it in Maple Grove. Tell us when and where this is happening.
Well, the Farmers Market, as your viewers know, and you as well, that it's a big event in summertime, a weekly event, and much attended by our residents, but also children. Like last year, there was, I think on the order of about 1,700 visits by children.
Fantastic.
800 different children registered for this this new program dealing with promoting produce, and it's a national program and instituted in Maple Grove, and it's worked out quite well.
Fantastic.
The farmers market, though, over the wintertime has moved indoors, and it's in the community center, and it occurs once a month. It's scheduled currently for January 14th. Actually, there was one earlier in December, but of course that date is passed. And then also February 11th, March 10th, and April 14th. And I suspect people forget those dates, but can certainly go onto the city website to catch up with when that farmers market will be held, and the hours are 3 to 6.
Excellent, great. We'll keep you up to date on here on the Maple Grove Report about when those next dates are coming. All right, so that's a little look around town. Let's talk a little bit about the council meeting. Recent meeting was a rather short meeting, but some important items. Give us a recap.
The city council appointed a few positions that have been open for a while. The building inspection services director was appointed. That is Ann Jacklich. We're looking forward to her coming on board on December 21st. As I should say, Heidi Nelson coming on board the same day as our new city administrator. Looking forward to that.
Right.
And then there was a light equipment operator appointed, which now places Public Works at full staff, finally. And then a Special Services Crime Analyst appointment was made as well. So in a larger community like that, we do have turnover of staff, either through retirements or other opportunities, and So that's a constant battle keeping the City Hall staffed.
I understand. Speaking of your public works staff, just have to ask here while the topic's up, missing the snow so far? You guys have you had the plows out? I suppose you did the one day, right?
Oh, yes, we absolutely did.
Okay.
We're not missing the snow. It gives us an opportunity to catch up with other tasks.
Sure.
And, you know, people may wonder, well, what are they doing in the wintertime when they're not plowing snow? Well, there's a lot of other tasks that need to be undertaken in the wintertime, such things as tree trimming,
right.
Stormwater pond maintenance and cleanouts. And over the last few years, we've had a hard time getting to all of that,
right.
because we're so busy plowing snow. So we have a chance to catch up. So Mother Nature helps us out on occasion.
Yeah, you take advantage of that, sure.
And I heard the statistic where 1 in 4 years we have a brown Christmas. So once every 4 years we get a break.
All right, and you guys get out and get those other things done. All right, let's go back to the council meeting. What other items have?
These are a couple items that the council has been reviewing prior, but has now given final approval. And one is a daycare center called Kitty Garden over just west of the Walmart site. That's over off of County Road 30. They gave final approval for the enclave at Rush Creek, and then they approved a preliminary concept stage plan for enclave at Dunlaven Woods.
And those are housing developments, correct?
Those are 2 housing developments.
Right.
Now the enclave at Rush Creek is at the very north end of the city, up on the Dayton border, where Dayton is just now creating housing developments, newer housing developments. And council looked at this particular area and thought it was good to dovetail this site in with the Dayton site, so that in the future there is not the need to drive through an established neighborhood in Dayton to get to this very small area of land in Maple Grove.
Right, okay.
And then the enclave at Dunlaven Woods is the area out on the western part of the city, out by County Road 101 and 101st Avenue. Interestingly enough, this area was approved for development about 10 years ago under a different name, and has come back now and was approved with a few less lots than last time. The last proposal had a few more impacts to a wetland. This particular proposal removed those impacts, so it removed some of the lots as well.
Let's talk a little bit about that area of the city, because I know over the years we've talked about that is kind of the final frontier, if you will, of the city of Maple Grove, that northwest corner. From a public works and engineering standpoint, are things now in place or getting in place that we'll see more of these coming within the next couple years?
That's a great question, Dave, and it's difficult to answer, because to facilitate further development in that area, a few infrastructure improvements need to be made.
Right.
For example, which would be the paving or reconstruction of 101st Avenue into an urban environment, as well as Lawndale Lane between County Road 30 and 101st. And then there's some sewer lines that need to be extended.
Okay.
And through systematic and orderly development, some of those improvements need to go through land that may or may not be interested in development as far as the current land ownership. And then many of those improvements are development driven. So there's really no reason to go out and build infrastructure in advance of an interest in development. And we're just kind of, we're lacking that right now. We just haven't been approached by property owners. Some of those lands are investment holdings, and I suppose buy low, sell high concept. We just they're just still holding on to their land investments.
All right, so only time will tell. So we'll keep you up to date as that does continue. But interesting to see some work happening up in that area. Back to the meeting.
The council then also had a couple special events that evening. It started out with accepting the retirement letter from Tim Fino, who has been chair of the park board for the last 20 years. He's been on the park board for 35 years.
Amazing.
And there was a little event expressing appreciation to Tim by all of his colleagues and all those that he has worked with over the years on the park board. And then at the council was the official acceptance of his resignation.
They probably tried to talk him out of it a little bit, but he has served the city very well and certainly seen a lot of things happen. You think back that many years of what the park system in Maple Grove was like, and oh my goodness, what growth.
The increase in acreage of what the park board has accomplished since then, and I have a few statistics if I can find them. That's probably worth noting is that when he started back in '81, the city had 577 acres of parkland, and now we have 1,485 acres.
My goodness.
And it's just amazing. You know, the Park and Rec program is for no other term, I'll say a point of sale type of thing. So many elements of the park system are free, but they also sell certain services such as ice time at the skating rink and that kind of thing. And man, back in 1981, they sold $200,000 worth of services. Now it's up to about 1.3 million.
Oh my goodness!
So it's increased a lot over the years.
Sure.
And it's just phenomenal. Just about every aspect of the Park and Rec system is quadrupled in the tenure that he was there, and he had a lot of input in how that was fashioned.
Sure did, and even the acreage, that's one thing, but what's on that land now is very different too. And I know when I heard a story with him, he talked about the town green, and you look at that area and just what's that turned into. Yes, it's a great piece of land, but the structure on that has really drawn some crowds.
Yes, it sure has.
And Central Park now being the next part that certainly has some opportunities for people.
So there was a lot of vision in all that planning, and then a lot of it just turned out by a lot of hard work on the part of the city council, the park board, park department staff working together to kind of put the finishing touches on the plans per se.
Well, thank you very much to Tim for your service to the city. It will make a lot of people happy in the years to come.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then they had the pleasure of Mrs. Maple Grove, Angie Decker, making a presentation to the council. She will be competing in the Mrs. Minnesota USA pageant coming up in February. We wish her the best of luck.
Very nice.
And she's a great representative for the city.
Great.
And then as the last bit of official business, they conducted a public hearing to consider the 2016 budget, which they will take official action on at their next meeting on December 21st. They heard public comment, of which there was one individual that spoke relative to not so much the tax levy, but to the valuation of his particular property.
Okay.
Some specifics on the budget. Council has always worked hard to keep the budget low, particularly increases in the budget. We can say that the level of increase in the levy is one of the lowest in the metropolitan areas within Maple Grove.
Very good.
And it's right around 3%, which is reflective of the increase in costs associated with an increase in population. Our population is projected to increase about 2%, but the increase in needs for the services and the commercial development that's occurred. So there's 2 positions being added, one police officer and then one individual in the Parks Department to help with maintenance along the lines of the various park improvements.
Right, very good, yeah. Again, all those parks out there need someone to mow the lawn and keep them in ship shape for the residents.
Yes, they do.
Needed more staff.
So the council just closed the public hearing.
Okay.
We'll consider whatever testimony they heard and or hear in continuing days, and
Right.
they will take action on the 21st of December.
Very good. Any
And
other
that
items
was
for the meeting?
That was basically it.
a short and sweet meeting. All right, we've got Ken here. We have to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about your two main focuses right now, which would be the public works and engineering. Let's recap for 2015. What were some of the key projects that you worked on, and is everything done for the year, or are there still some things that it might be hanging over into December or next year?
Well, as far as is everything done for this construction season, pretty much yes. There's
Okay.
a few items still being worked on the Trunk Highway 610 project. But beyond those few cleanup items, that project will pretty much suspend until spring of next year. And that project is expected to be finished in 2016.
Okay.
So there's a lot of work yet to be done. They can do some bridge work and that type of thing over the winter, but the grading operations and that type of thing has been pretty much suspended.
Okay.
Related to Trunk Highway 610, the big pieces of the project that still need to be worked on would be the grade separation of 610 with County Road 81.
Right.
And the railroad tracks. They're working currently on the grade separation at Fernbrook. And then next year will be the major interchange work at Maple Grove Parkway.
Okay, so let's talk about that whole puzzle here, because as residents are going to be driving through in the future, you're going to go up a little bit, down a little bit,
Correct.
and around a little bit. So let's talk about 81 first. So as people are coming down 610, they know that it kind of dips down, but then it's going to elevate up and go over what at that 81 Fernbrook intersection?
A number of years ago, we separated 81 on either side of Trunk Highway 610, so westbound 81 will be unimpacted.
Okay.
So 81 or 610 is actually between the westbound and eastbound lanes.
Right.
So 610 goes up over the eastbound lanes of 81.
Okay.
At the same time as going over the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad tracks under the High Line wires. So it's
Right,
kinda
yeah,
like,
it's a squeeze in there.
it's just kind of like threading the needle. And then as it continues west, it'll go over Fernbrook. And then when it gets over to Maple Grove Parkway, it actually will be under Maple Grove Parkway, not from how you would visualize it today, in that it's totally under, because Maple Grove Parkway will be rebuilt up over.
To go over, right.
When we built Maple Grove Parkway back in '06, we built it with a segment of it being interim in nature, knowing that it would have to be reconstructed.
Okay, and then once it gets past Maple Grove Parkway, pretty much goes straight to 94, is that correct?
Go straight to 94. There are some elements of that project that still need to be considered in the future as funding becomes available. The connection of 610 back to going eastbound on 94, and then the continuation of what we call County Road 610 over to tie into County Road 30.
Okay, very good.
So, as I mentioned, the Maple Grove Parkway interchange will be built, which involves closing down Maple Grove Parkway in the vicinity of Target next year.
Okay,
So
so beware.
beware. The Yardway site takes access off of, has taken access off of 101st all these years, up until its closure this year. Next year, the access will be moved over to Maple Grove Parkway.
Okay,
However, with what I just said about the closure of Maple Grove Parkway in the area of 610,
right.
if you want to access the Yardway site, you would access it from the north off of County Road 81.
Okay,
If you want to go to Target area or the other commerce area of the Grove, you would approach that from the south.
okay, very good. All right, so maybe in the future we'll get some maps here to show you a little bit more, and I'm sure it'll be in the news of how to navigate that area as work goes on. And again, you mentioned 610 out at the intersection with 94. There is the phase 1, which is in the works right now, but then future phases. So again, remind me of the traffic movement. What can I do? How can I get to 94 or on to 94 if I'm coming west on 610? And then if I'm on 94, how can I get to 610 this next year?
You would use Maple Grove Parkway.
Okay.
Well, when you say this next year, if you're coming eastbound on 94, you still need to use Maple Grove Parkway.
Right.
When the project's completed, there will be a flyover connection that you would just stay on.
Right.
We call that a system-to-system interchange, so you're going actually from one interstate system to another freeway system.
Right, okay.
As far as local access, Maple Grove Parkway, as it connects to 94, and as it will in the future connect to 610, would be the local access points.
Okay.
Now, if you're going westbound on 610,
Yep.
you want to go to 94 eastbound or westbound, you'd use Maple Grove Parkway.
Okay, excellent. All right. Hope you followed all that. We'll get used to it here as time marches on. Take us other places around the city. What were some of the other large projects that were under work in 2015?
There was 3 major projects going on in the south part of the city. The one perhaps most visible to motorists is the 494 expansion. The work was completed on southbound lanes this past construction season. That project has suspended for the winter. Will begin again in the spring, and work will occur on the northbound lanes. Now, last year, you may recall, there was a movable barrier where there was 2 lanes in the direction of the peak hour traffic, 1 lane in the other direction. This coming year, now that there are 3 lanes in place because of the new construction with the shoulder, they can steal some space from the shoulder. They will run 2 lanes in each direction all the time. So,
wonderful.
And then other projects that are going on, Maple Grove collaborated with Plymouth to do the Lawndale Peony connection down into Wayzata, or into the Wayzata High School area.
Right.
The south connection was at the high school. So that's the new north-south connection. And there's also an ongoing project right now on Vicksburg Lane, which that project has been awaiting to get under construction for many years, and about half of it is done.
Okay.
Next year will involve the piece from County Road 47 down Schmidt Lake Road, including a grade-separated crossing of the railroad tracks. That's been quite a story on the railroad track in itself.
Exactly.
So we're becoming rich in transportation resources as we wrap up all these projects, and we're happy to have them in place.
Yeah, some nice ways for people to get certainly north and south around town now. Now let's look ahead to next year as well. 169 is going to have a little fun and excitement going on. How much do you know about that? What can you tell the residents to prepare us for the season?
Well, I'm not real clear on all the elements of work on 169. Of course, Brooklyn Park is looking at a new interchange at 101st Avenue. That project, I don't believe, is totally funded at this particular point, but they're working on it. There's some paving issues on 169, and then there's, of course, the big interruption of traffic way down on the south end, where they, if you drive that road, there's that large wetland area where there's actually a bridge that goes through that, and that bridge needs some work. So they're shutting it down, I believe, from across town 62 up to one of those other east-west roads. I don't know.
It's going to be a good section.
So they'll, in addition to fixing up that bridge, they'll fix up the pavement section in between, because it'll have to be closed down anyway. But that's going to be a big interruption down in that area.
Yeah, people will have to make some alternate plans to get to and from work. How about other projects in 2016? Let's look ahead to the next season. What are you starting now already to get ready for?
Well, we're working on right now our 2016 street reconstruction program that we will take to the council sometime in the spring for a public hearing.
Okay.
And then we're also developing a 5-year capital improvement program to consider street reconstruction throughout the various neighborhoods. And the one project that we'll be working on at the legislative level will be that County Road 610 over to County Road 30 project that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, so to connect to that very far west side of the city. In the street reconstruction, is there a particular area that you're looking at for next year? I'm sure people have already been talking about this.
The area that we're looking at next year is just north of 89th Avenue. Between Elm Creek Boulevard and over to Forest View Lane. So it's a fairly large area, large enough that we'll most likely let out 2 separate contracts to break it up, presumably under that notion 2 different contractors, or at least 2 different contracts requiring two crews.
Okay.
And
what level of street reconstruction in this? How much are you going under the ground to work and find things?
For all practical purposes, we're rehabilitating the pavement section and fixing up the concrete elements. So we're really just working the surface area. It causes very little inconvenience to the residents. It's just one of those things that need to be done. You know, pavements only last, well, traditionally within the engineering community, we say 20 years, but we try to get 25, 30 years out of them.
Okay.
And, you know, Maple Grove's got about 300 miles of streets. It's pretty easy to do the math that if you're going to stay up with it, we have to do about 10 miles every year. And
many of the streets, I suppose, built back in the 70s, 80s, people don't think of that far back from Maple Grove or even into the 90s, but a lot of those streets have been around that long.
Yes, they have. The streets that we're looking at next year were built quite a while before I started working for the city. I kind of used that as my measuring stick, and I've been there 28 years, so they're well into 30 years old, which is quite a performance record in itself.
That is great. Final minute we have with you. How about looking further out? Maybe 2 to 5 years down the road, any other projects that you've got on your radar that you're starting to think about?
We continue to look at potential safety improvements along Weaver Lake Road and the intersection at Dunkirk and Weaver. The council, when they considered a project, now it's probably a couple of years ago, directed us to look at potential of where can we do capacity and safety improvements, identify those so that we can start to preserve right-of-way. Then beyond that, it's to a large degree, it's going to be development driven.
Right.
So
okay, that northwest corner up there, is it?
Northwest and the gravel mining area.
That is true. That's right. All right, Ken, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you coming in once again. That is it for today's Maple Grove City Report. Let's leave you with the next council meeting date. It is on December 21st. That is at the Government Center. 494-6000, the phone number. You see the website on the top of the screen. Again, Ken mentioned information about the farmers market. You can certainly find that there. Any questions or comments about the program? 533-1710 is our viewer response line. For Ken Ashfield, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.